In the previous videos, we've seen how to send and receive data. However, most APIs we interact with will use some form of authentication. In this video, we'll see how to support both HTTP basic and token authentication with alamofire. Download the materials for this video and open them up in Finder. Again, the project contains a server-side Swift app to act as our API and an iOS app. This time the API has endpoints for logging in, and you need to be logged in to send requests to create acronyms. In Terminal, navigate to the TIL app directory and then build and run the new server. Next, open the iOS project up in Xcode. Build and run the app and you'll be presented with a login screen. The API uses HTTP basic authentication. This is where you concatenate the username and password, base64 encode it, and then send it in the authorization header with a basic tag. If that sounds complicated, don't worry, alamofire does most of it for us. In Xcode, open auth.swift. This is a simple service to log the user in and out, which saves the token the API returns us when we log in. First, import alamofire at the top of the file. Then, in login, create a credentials header under the path. This provides the username and password from the text fields and creates a basic authentication header for us. We can then use that to log in. Make a post request to the path. Then provide the credential header as a header. Then validate the response and decode it to a token type. Inside the closure, if we're successful, we get a token, so save that and call the completion handler with success. And if we error, call the completion handler with the failure case and the error. Build and run the app and you can now log in with one of the users, for example, admin and the password of password. We can now see the list of acronyms. Try creating an acronym. You'll get an error. This is because the create request needs to be authenticated. When we log in, the API returns us a token we can use in future requests for creating acronyms, users, and categories. The API accepts this token using bearer authentication, where the token is sent as a header. Again, alamofire can help us with that. Open create acronym table view controller.swift. At the top of Save Acronym, get the token from the auth service. We'll just fatal error for now if we can't get a token, because we should always be logged in if we can reach this screen. Then create a credentials header, this time using the bearer token option. We can then pass that into our alamofire request. Our request will now be sent with the bearer token from the login. Build and run the app and try to create an acronym again. This time it succeeds. Adding the bearer token to the create user and create acronym table view controllers will be left as an exercise to the user. In this video, we're going to move past basic API calls and look at how to upload files. Download the sample materials for this video and open the Xcode project. The app allows you to upload photos to the imager service, which uses machine learning to tell you what it can find in that photo. To use the imager service, we need an API key. So go to www.imager.com, sign up and find your username and password in the dashboard. In Xcode, open imager credentials.swift and replace the placeholders with your API key and API secret. Next, open viewcontroller.swift and find the upload function. This is the function called when a user selects a photo to upload. The API accepts the image data as multipart data, so first call the upload function. And then we'll send it to the uploads URL. Inside the multipart closure, we can add our image data. This tells the API that the incoming data is a JPEG. Next, we need to authenticate the request. In the previous videos, we created a credentials header, but the Imager API provides a challenge and response authentication mechanism, so call authenticate on the request and pass it the username and password. We can then validate the response and then hook into the upload progress to display it on the UI. This uses the upload progress function to provide a closure that gets called when we have a progress update. We pass the response to the progress completion function, which updates the UI. Finally, we can decode the response to upload image response. Inside the response handler, check the result like before. If we fail, print the error out and call the completion handler with nils. If we're successful, for now, just get the result ID and print it out. The completion handler for the upload image function expects both tags and colors from images we've uploaded. Once we've uploaded the image, we can then use the upload ID to get both from the Imager API. First, implement download tags. We need to provide the content ID in a dictionary for the parameters, so create that. Next, call the tags API with alamofire. This passes the content ID as a query parameter in the request URL. Next, authenticate and validate the request like before. Then decode the response to photo tags response. In the response closure, ensure we have a successful result and get the English name for the tags and pass it to the completion handler. The download colors function is very similar. The parameters also require us to disable extracting object colors. Then request the colors API and authenticate and validate the request as before. Then decode the response to photo colors response. Check we have a successful response, convert the array of image colors into our photo color type, and call the completion handler with the result. Finally, back in our upload function, in the success case we can call download tags and download colors and pass the results to the completion handler. Build and run the app and select an image to upload. The app will upload the image and you'll get a list of colors and tags back. In the previous video we saw how to use alamofire to upload images. In this video we're going to see how to use it to download images. Open the starter project from the download materials, or you can use the end result of the previous video. Make sure you've replaced the placeholders in Imager credentials.swift with your Imager API key and API secret. Currently in the iOS app, the user has to select a photo from their photo roll. However, they may not always be in a position to do this, or you may want to show them the functionality without asking for permission to access the camera roll. Open viewcontroller.swift and find the download sample image function. The UI currently presents a download sample image button and will use the Wikipedia logo. Downloading files with alamofire is fairly simple. Just call af.download. Then validate the response as normal. Next, hook into the download progress so we can display the progress to the user. Here we're using the download progress function to provide a closure that gets regularly updated and pass the result to the progress completed function to update the UI. Finally, we can get the response. In all the previous requests we've made with alamofire, we've used the response decodable function to take our response and turn it into a codable type. However, we can't do that with image data, so we can use the response data method instead. Like before, check the result, and if the download fails, print an error and call the completion handler with nils. If it's successful, convert the image data into a UI image and then call the upload function to upload the image to the API. Finally, we need to hook it all up. In the download sample image IBAction call the function we've just implemented. First, hook up the progress completion callback to the UI. Then, in the completion handler, when we have the tags and colors, unhide the Take Picture button and Download Sample Image button, hide the progress view and stop the activity indicator. Then set the tags and colors. Then finally perform a segue to the Show Results page. Build and run the app, and this time click Download Sample Image. This time you'll see colors and tags for the Wikipedia logo.